Hello, you are listening to the Internet Paladins radio show recording from Granada with the Spaniard and
Jamal, who is presently frustrated at YouTube's time limit, forcing me to cut off mid-sentence in our last discussion.
Indeed. We were talking about religion, evolution, God creating systems, atheists, the whole shebang about whether or not God is powerful enough to do these things and why he would even do these things, and people's ignorance towards God's power and abilities. And Jamal had a thought last time that he's going to continue for us right
Absolutely.
now.
So last time, if you remember, I was discussing the idea of how evolution, for a lot of atheists, disproves God. And we were discussing how in the Quran, and I think also in the Bible, God clearly commands the readers that we must use our own intelligence to prove that he exists, that is part of the test of life, that we can't just believe, oh yeah, God is real. We have to educate ourselves to the point where it turns on in our brain. And we could see a test in the form of evolution where we look at this and we see a system of great complexity, a system of nature that stands alone from God if you want it to. I think for people, evolution and natural science is a god of itself, and they're fully willing to believe that this system is the only real system, which is part of the test. I think if that's what you believe, then you've failed the test, but you've got your beliefs, so that's fine. And I think the real believers would look at this system and not say evolution is not real, evolution is fake, we're created with the snap of a finger. I don't think a true believer would think that, like what are the creationists that preach in many countries. I think that it would be a true believer would look at the system of biology and go, God made that. And would think, how could something like that basically evolve from a molten rock hurtling through space, the first seed of life, single cell organisms eventually becoming an ecosystem so diverse, so complex, billions of species that are very different from one another randomly? Like, is that, it seems a little bit too much to think that. It seems that some greater intelligence guiding that process makes perfect sense. To me, not to a lot of atheists, but that's because I think they don't open their mind to that possibility and look just a bit beyond and think, well, how do we know that that's not possible, that there's something out there greater than we are? And I think they always think of God as the bearded old man on a cloud throne.
Yeah.
But God could be some kind of vast alien intelligence. It's something, I think God is beyond our comprehension until we die and meet him someday. So, we limit ourselves in our image of God by that, created man in his own image line, where we think that, he's just some old white guy in a cloud. Yeah. And I think that God could be something beyond our comprehension. So God could be some kind of enormous machine created by an even older, more powerful race, and that the universe that we have could just be a little pocket existence in a greater whole. That doesn't mean that we can't ignore God if he has the power to do as he wills. So there's really no way to know that. So I think people with open minds would consider every possible avenue, even the really silly ones, like I just suggested, God being some kind of enormous space robot. But how do we know he isn't?
Yeah. Well, two interesting things. Well, yeah, two points I'd like to bring up. Number one, what is a question to atheists? Why would you want what you believe in to be true? Like, why would you want the reality to be that we're all alone, that we live for just a few years, that we die, that we take nothing with us, all of our achievements are eventually forgotten, that children die for nothing. A lot of people have to endure a lot of hardships across the world. Why would you want the reality to be so cold and lifeless and meaningless? It's weird. And when you ask that question, you realize that the reason why they want that to be true is because their God is their ego. They have to be right. And because they have to be right, their God is their own knowledge. And because they have to be right, they have to shoehorn everything to fit into their own system. So, to them, it's okay if everything's lifeless. It's okay if everything's pointless. As long as they get, maybe 70 years, if they're lucky. 70 years of sensorial appeasement. And, they get a piece of paper with their name on it hanging on the wall. some money, or get rich, or whatever. To them, it just doesn't make sense. You do not take a single thing with you. You don't even take your own body. You take nothing. Nothing. Everything in this life is meaningless. Why would you want to imprint upon it artificial, meaning, and turn your life into something cold and horrible? And I don't know. I don't understand the logic. Anyway, my second point is that in the Quran, and indeed in the Bible, we get the English translations, right? Because most of the world gets the English translations. We read the Spanish, I guess, translations as well. Also, you've read or seen the Arabic translation, being from Morocco. When it's translated into English, when God is referred to as He, but it's not He in the Arabic. It's not she in the Arabic. It's actually it. We say he out of respect, although I'm not even sure what that means. Why is it out of respect? Well, only he's can be respected. But anyway, it's he out of, I guess, respect, and also so that our human minds can understand or fathom God as an entity, because God is neither male nor female. He created male and female. So that just adds another dimension to our lack of understanding of what or who God is. And in the Bible, the word for God is Elohim, which is or Elohim, which is similar to Al Ilah, which is in Arabic, and it's actually plural. It's gods. It's saying we. But there's only one God. So why is it saying we? That's another puzzle, and that's a whole other discussion altogether. But it just goes. We don't fully understand who God is, and I guess that lack of.
I don't think we're meant to, really.
And because of that, because we're not meant to, and because we can't fully fathom it, we start creating our own gods, right? We don't understand God, but we can understand Jesus, and therefore He can become our God. We can understand science, or what we have of science, and that can become our God. We understand ourselves to a degree, and we can become our own gods. It just goes on and on. And I don't know. I guess that's the root. Ego is the root of atheism, but I don't believe in atheism. I don't think it even exists. Everyone has a God. It's just who that God is.
Absolutely, yeah. If you stumble upon some atheist headquarters on the internet, like Reddit, for example, you'll find it's a church, really, and people go there to preach and to listen to doctrines and dogma and messages from the more vocal of their flock. And it's, if you see movies of American Baptist churches with, African American people singing and clapping their hands, Jesus is the Lord, yes he is. The atheists seem to jump on that kind of bandwagon where one guy will make a smart-ass comment about, atheism, and then everyone else will be like, oh yeah. It's ridiculous, and they never seem to see that. And if you ever try to point out to them that they sound like a congregation, they just laugh you out of existence, because their God is, as you said, their ego, and they have to be right. And everyone else who doesn't have the same belief might as well be a poop on their shoe, as far as they're concerned. And any atheist listening, you can't deny that. I mean, if you can, please write it in the comments that you don't look down on people who aren't atheists. I mean, come on. Honestly, look inward. can you honestly say that you respect people who don't think the same way that you do?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can. Nobody can. It doesn't matter if you're atheist, if you're Muslim, if you're Buddhist, if you're the Dalai Lama. I mean, well, maybe the Dalai Lama, but he's pretty relaxed. But even he probably looks down on the Chinese. So, I mean, everyone looks down on someone else and feeds their own ego in some way.
Yeah, so. And that's a mistake. True believers should not do that.
No.
They should not do that. And the best, I know a believer, we have the knowledge, we're right, we're convinced we're right, we have the proof. And you're right, you do have the proof that you're right. But being condescending or treating other people as second-class individuals because they don't yet understand doesn't help them understand. And that's another problem where you get people who don't believe, and then you get people who believe so strongly that it becomes elitism, and it's scary. And if you look at the Middle East today, or you look at the Bible Belt in America, it's scary. It really is. It's frightening.
Oh yeah, it is. It is.
I'm gonna relate a story. I have a friend, and prior to me giving him the Quran, I considered him pretty devoutly atheistic. I didn't bully him into reading it. I just invited him to read it, and he read it, and his perspective changed a bit. And an invitation, that's the power of an invitation. So.
Well, as long as you actually open the envelope and read what's on the paper, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah. Well, going back to the people who are treating others unfairly. I mean, I don't want to come out as if we are condescending towards atheists. I think that's maybe how we've come off. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we are a little bit. Actually, we should probably correct that. But I think
it's not the individual we're after. It's a frustration that they're unwilling to take that little extra step. Right. Even if they end up disagreeing, still they won't take that extra step. They won't read the Quran with an open mind, or the Bible with an open mind. They'll immediately, crawl across the internet, find verses that are ripped out of context and make the Quran look bad or the Bible look stupid. And then that's it. They're satisfied.
Or the moment they have any doubt, I think some people will Google search, proof the Bible is wrong, and then they'll read the articles and go, "Oh, that's better," validating their ego. So, yeah. But another thing that bothers me is not the atheists, but how atheists are treated by the Christian majority in America. Where I'll hear stories about, and here in Spain, it's probably even worse. If you have a young man or woman who tells their parents, "Mom, Dad, I'm an atheist," you might as well be admitting to being Osama bin Laden because you're kicked out of the family, ostracized, and that is not what you're supposed to do.
No, that's not. Yeah, that's cultural regimentation. That's not belief, right?
No. Where in the Bible does it say to cast out your own son if he doesn't believe what you believe? Yeah. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure it would say somewhere that you should give them some kind of guidance, right? Give them the invitation.
Yeah, you can invite, and to stay clear from people who are, malignant.
Extreme religious extremists are doing themselves doing their children no favors with their closed-mindedness of their own, where their kids ask them questions and they refuse to answer them because of God, but they don't open their minds, right? It's like their parents say, "Well, what about this?" And rather than discuss what about that, they just say, "The Bible says this." And maybe they don't even know if the Bible says that. And so obviously these kids are going to be confused and frustrated and dubious. So it's stupid.
It is. And the Quran actually talks about this. It warns people that if you follow your parents, and actually says parents, if you follow your parents blindly, and you use the excuse that I did this because my parents or my relatives or the scholar said so, the people behind me said so, it will not be accepted as an excuse, because you've been given a brain and you got to use it. And I hope you guys are all using it as you listen to our show.
Use them.
We will see you all soon in our next segment.
Indeed. Two men on microphone steeds riding through hills of Spain. The dragon of boredom rears its nasty head, but with swords of mirth we two strike it dead. The Internet Paladins show.
Excellent.
Ladies and gentlemen, that terrible song reveals that I am Jamal.
And I am the Spaniard.
I apologize for your ears, but I had a need.
I
to sing.
I thoroughly enjoyed that, actually.
Perhaps I shall record us an introduction song with my horrible singing voice in the future.
I could add some instruments or something to it. That would actually be pretty funny.
A Spanish guitar and some maracas.
Yeah, we need a sort of a theme ditty.
Indeed.
So we can work on that.
We certainly do slay the dragon of boredom with our swords of mirth.
Mm-hmm.
Or so we think, but only we care what we think. So, today, I'll start us off with a die roll and find out what nonsense we'll discuss for your enjoyment. Yeah, it is time, once again, for the Inquisition.
Oh.
All right. Inquisition question. For this segment, I will submit myself to your Inquisition, as I asked you the last time.
Okay. You realize that every time you go to sleep, you transform into a serial killer. Kind of like Sherlock Holmes and the Hound of the Baskervilles, or that kind of thing.
Almost like a nocturnal Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah. What do you think about this? How do you react to the situation? And do you take advantage of it?
Boy, you always ask me, what do you think? I don't know. So I discover that I'm a sleep killer.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, is this sleep version of me conscious? Or is it just like a zombie going through the motions of killing? Or do I wake up as soon as I fall asleep as a different man?
It's a totally alternate you, right? You go to sleep and you wake up like normal, but in the space that you were asleep, another you, is a serial killer.
I would think that is crazy, and then that would explain why I'm so tired all the time. And then I would wonder which me is the real me.
Interesting.
I don't think I'd have any way of knowing that. I mean, I could say, when I go to sleep, he comes out, but when he goes to sleep, I come out. So which one of us is the one causing the other?
Very
Who came first?
Very,
Who came
very
first?
interesting.
Bad man or the killer? So
what do you think? Who came first?
I would go with my regular self, and I would say that the serial killer is my inner frustrations with the world being set free by sleep and taking revenge for me is what I would think. But I'd have to ask that other me if that's true, and that other me may not even be conscious of the me. And now I'm getting into ridiculous territory here, but I would think that's...
What if the other you is actually the real you, because it's acting according to its nature, and you are just a puddle of leftover thoughts?
It would explain a lot, wouldn't it? If I was a puddle of leftover thoughts. You always have a way with words that makes me seem really, really, really bad. Let's see. I would...
Would you leave yourself a note? Would you go to bed one night after discovering this? Would you write a note and leave it on the wall, hoping that the other you would answer it?
Here's a question: is my serial killer self successful? Is he a mastermind of a serial killer?
Well, sure.
Okay,
he's
so then I would order hits against people before going to bed, and then my other self would wake up and get a note saying, hey, it's me. Can you kill this guy? And hoping that he would. And then...
incredibly interesting.
So I would become perhaps the first ever split personality where both sides collaborate.
Very interesting. That was a good answer. That's a good answer.
I think I need to sit down and write a book now about that character. I think that would be okay. Writing myself a note because I think that would be interesting. Oh wait, except that it's on the internet radio, so 85 people will beat me to it. But still, no one can do it like Jamal. So
okay, so apparently we have the serial killer with us today.
I know that you drank the last can, Spaniard.
Last can of what?
Oh, you know. Anyhow, let's see. One. So yeah, that's an interesting question. Man, I like that one. All right. Okay, so let's go on to our next segment then, shall we?
Sure.
All right. It's time to find out who would win in a fight between two people.
All right.
Who I shall choose this time.
Okay.
So let's see. I had a very good one that I thought of the other day, and I've since forgotten who one of those people are, but I think I've just remembered. So we have that classic argument, right, of who would win in a fight, Captain Kirk or Captain Picard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my question, and maybe the nerds have asked this on the internet, and if so, chime in, nerds. We always don't care what you say in the comments. Who would win in a fight between Captain Kirk and Han Solo?
That's a really good matchup. Wow.
I think those two would be better allies than opponents, but there can be only one.
I don't think they could be allies because they have the identical personality traits.
So who is the better man, Captain Kirk or Han Solo? What do you think?
Well, see, in a fight, they're both just brawlers, right?
Yeah.
So I think it would be a draw.
Well, I don't know, because we've seen Han Solo. I don't know if we've seen him. He shoots people. I don't know if we've ever seen him punch anyone. But then Captain Kirk does like these crazy wall drop kicks and axe handles.
Yeah, that's true.
He's got this whole repertoire of comical Starfleet martial arts. I don't know if Han Solo. Maybe Han Solo is like one of those masters who never uses his abilities unless he really has to. We've never seen him push to that limit. I don't know.
And would Han Solo even allow himself to be put into a situation?
Han shot first.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So there goes Kirk. But would Kirk shoot first? Would Kirk even be in the position where he could be shot at? I don't know.
What Kirk are you talking about? You talking about old series Kirk or new Chris Pine Kirk?
No, original series Kirk, not Chris Pine Kirk. No emo Kirks. I mean, original. Okay, you know what? I don't know. I'm going to go with the original series Kirk, not the Wrath of the Khan Kirk, who has a huge chip in his shoulder by that point. I mean the original young, dashing Captain Kirk.
All right.
So, physical fight done. Next, we have who's the better captain, or who's the better leader of men? Remember, Han Solo is a general. He inspires loyalty in others, but does he stand up to Captain
When does he
Kirk?
become a general?
Oh, he's made a general by the Rebel Alliance after...
In the movies, or?
Yeah, in Return of the Jedi.
Oh, yeah, right.
General Solo before the attack on the new Death Star. And I think in the not the fan fiction, the extended universe novels, I think he retains some kind of leadership position.
Yeah. I never...
Nerds.
I'm not into... To me, if it's not in the movie, then it doesn't happen.
Okay, let me change that. Who's a better pilot?
Well, as for who's a better leader of men...
Yeah. Okay, leader of men. Who's a better leader of men?
I think that they're equal because they both lead armies. They both went from being, a lone wolf to being, a hero, right? Has Kirk ever led an army? He's captain of the ship.
He commands a ship, yeah. So I guess you could say, he has an army behind him all the time. Because they follow the naval system on those ships. So, yeah.
So
okay, so
it's a draw. I guess that would be a draw.
Draw there. And we've got Kirk being, I think, just his slightly wacky combat style give him the edge. First one. So, number 3, then, I would have to ask you, in this case, who's the better ladies' man? Very important discussion. I mean,
it'd be Kirk. Kirk always gets the girl, but yeah, and Han Solo kind of just.
But Han is a scruffy nerf herder, and yet he got the princess. So isn't that greater than?
Yeah, but he got the princess after working away on her for three movies. But Kirk just basically Kirk shows up.
He walks up, he like punches the woman's husband, and then like has sex with her on top of his unconscious body, essentially his Kirk style. So
yeah.
So are you going to say overall that Kirk is the better badass, better space man? Macho space guy.
What other qualities could we measure them by?
Okay, we don't need just 3. We can go to do a best of 5.
Because they're both heroic, right? Because they both sacrifice themselves.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. Who's more intelligent?
They're both very street smart with maybe a bit of science layered on top thinly. I don't know.
Well, Kirk has Spock there to do all the science for him, so I don't know if
and there isn't really a lot of science in Star Wars, right? It's mostly
Star Wars is still popular because there's no science in it.
Yeah. Who is more intelligent? I don't know. I don't even know if we can measure that one. We have to toss that one out because I don't think there's a good way of being able to.
I don't know. What else could we measure?
I don't know if you
resourcefulness. I don't know. We could do resourcefulness maybe.
Yeah, they're both really resourceful. Return of the Jedi. That was pretty awesome using the AT-ST to break through the doorway. And
plus he's been a smuggler for 20 years, so he's got to be avoiding the Empire, no less. He's got to be pretty good. I mean, the Empire, I think, is made out to be a bunch of bumbling morons for the sake of making the heroes look good, but I'm pretty sure those stormtroopers and the pilots on those ships are not guys you'd mess with if you were not Han Solo.
Yeah.
Or Luke Skywalker, for that matter. But, yeah. Well, okay, here's the last question, then. Allies. Let's measure up whose allies are better. So, who does Han Solo have as allies?
Well, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Chewbacca,
Lando Calrissian. Sometimes.
Sometimes. When he's not.
And
C-3PO,
C-3PO,
RTD2.
I guess you could even say that if needed, the entire Rebel Alliance would, help him out in a pinch because he's been there for them. So he's got the Rebel Alliance behind him, plus all those awesome heroes like Luke Skywalker. Do you even need another ally?
2 words. 2 words. Admiral Akbar.
Admiral Akbar. I mean, the guy can smell a trap anywhere. So, and then who does Kirk have? He has
Spock.
Mr. Spock, who is
Chekhov. Admittedly, his crew's pretty cool. Sulu, Spock, Chekhov. But are they as cool?
The things that Scotty could do with technology and an engine.
Yeah, that's true.
He is.
But
I don't know.
Chewbacca gets things working too. Sort of.
He does. By smashing them together. I mean, if we were talking about Captain Picard, I mean, we could match Chewbacca up Worf and see who would win in a physical fight there. I think nobody would win that fight. I think it would just be blood everywhere.
Yeah.
The doctors would win. Something to do, but it's Kirk, so.
I think if you Kirk's crew's pretty cool. I think the Rebel crew is a bit cooler though overall.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think it's a tie again. I think it's a tie.
If faced with a crisis, the Rebel crew would just act, whereas Kirk's crew would sit down in the conference room for 5 hours and talk about it. So I think in the end, Kirk's idea would be better. But it would be already too late by that point because Han and Luke would have snuck onto the Enterprise and ran to their objective and got made off with whatever they wanted. So they would have mind tricked Uhura to join them and become Luke's girlfriend or something. So it would have been.
What?
All right, fan fiction authors out there, I have just given you your next week's worth of work. So honestly, what we're talking about probably already exists in like 17 different drafts. But
for sure.
If anyone knows about it, please. Actually, no, don't send us links because I don't want to read that. But
nope.
Summarize it for us.
We'll check it out because it's an interesting matchup. That's for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
That pretty much concludes our time for this segment. This is the Internet Paladins radio show.
Indeed.
Welcome to another episode of the Internet Paladins radio show, recording from lovely Granada. I am the Spaniard.
Pardon me, I'm Jamal.
And that is Jamal. And together we form the
Internet Paladin. Oh, come on.
Let's roll dice and see what we're going to talk about today.
Indeed. Looking forward to it. And it is Conspiracy Corner time. What do you got for us?
I would like to talk about crop circles today, because crop circles are something that are no longer really just sort of, something that happens in the background. There's thousands of them. They're everywhere, all over the world. And I learned something super interesting. They don't just appear in fields. Crop circle is actually the wrong name for them, because they actually appear on the tops of forests. They appear in snowy fields. They appear all over the place. And it is a crazy, crazy phenomenon. Now, what I want to talk about is, maybe it's basically a question. A double question. Could humans make them? And could they make them so that they contain all the mathematical and scientific and astronomical information that they are demonstrated to contain? And on top of that, could they create them so that the nodes are blown out as they are with microwave energy? 3 students from MIT say yes, they can. And there's a documentary on it, and it's very clumsy, and it's a really crappy circle formation. But they say that it's technically possible. But what do you think about that?
I mean,
you've seen a whole bunch, right? I've shown you a whole bunch.
Yeah. So. And I've seen others on my own. So I think, there's documented evidence of some people who have done this. I mean, people in England, for example, there's that group of crop circle makers that go around and do it for fun. Now, are they responsible for all the crop circles? No, I don't think so. I think, as you say, it was clumsy when the MIT guys did it. These guys have probably been doing it for years. So I think they can make a simple crop circle that is, believable to some rustic farmer in Cornwall. But you've shown me some crop. Circle is the wrong term.
Yeah.
Crop
formation
diagrams, crop like art. It's I don't know.
Crop signs, I guess, because what are they?
Yeah.
They're signs to us, aren't
crop
they?
hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
There's the one a while ago, I think, that turned out to be a marketing tactic by some company.
Yeah, Intel.
Yeah, and they would, those guys are pretty smart. They'd find a way to do it. But all the other things, and I don't know. If people are doing it, they are incredibly resourceful, incredibly creative, incredibly intelligent, and their motive is unknowable, because why would they go to that effort? Most people don't believe crop circles are anything special, so it's not like they're influencing anyone, really, except for us and conspiracy theorists who everyone dismisses as nut jobs. So I don't know. It seems like it would be very wasteful, because they would need all of the resources required to make these immaculate creations stealthily, and to have all the scientific content in them that they do. The microwave radiation blowing out husks of grain. How the hell do they pull that off, right? And if there's no profit in it, if these are scientists, we all know scientists are motivated by money, followed by science. And those who are motivated by science first go broke and can't do science. So where's the money in it? I don't see money in it. So I don't know if it would be scientists, and who else would be capable of it, right? So I don't know. What do you think?
Well, in America, first off, most of the formations, they basically most of the known formations happen in the United Kingdom somewhere, but hundreds still happen around the rest of the world. a lot happen in the United States, and they've discovered, interestingly, that when you can find a direction within the crop circle, like a line that's at a certain angle, or just if you could determine if a crop formation was pointing in a certain direction, if you follow that direction, you'll find another crop circle, and they all point to each other, and this is across the entire United States. So if it is, if people are behind this, it has to be a huge coordinated effort. And then we ask the question, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but cui bono, right? Is that how you say it? Who benefits? Is it artists? How are they benefiting if they're not getting any recognition?
Indeed.
And
scientists are all about recognition.
Yeah, so
it's their god. So
what do you feel that? Okay, let's just make an assumption right now that someone is telling us something through these formations. What do you think they could be telling us? See, I don't know the answer to that either, because these formations they contain things that don't so much say, "Hey, how you doing?" It's more, we know this, and you know this too. So is it a case where they're trying to, build a bridge? It seems that way a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, people could say that if the aliens want to talk to us, if it is aliens, why don't they just come down and say hello? But I mean, there's so many reasons why that would be a terrible idea.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you were an alien observer observing humanity from a distance, you would see 7 billion militant, insane people armed with devastating weapons technology. Yeah. And yeah, sure, aliens are always depicted as having ray guns and all these crazy things, but what we have can kill just as easily. Mm-hmm. So are they going to come down, if they have the technology to monitor our media, right, they're going to see alien movies where the humans are always killing the aliens and fighting them. Mm-hmm. They'll read people's fear of aliens and things like that. They're going to know that if they were to appear in Washington, they'd probably be sniped the second they walk out of their spaceships. Oh, yeah. So they wouldn't choose that medium. Is it possible that they would be able to speak one of our languages fluently enough to communicate? And if so, which language would it be? Would it be English? Mm-hmm. Because the aliens recognize the cultural dominance of the United States? Or would it be Chinese? Because, 30% of the world are Chinese or something? Mm-hmm. Or 20%? Would it be Hindi? Spanish? Who knows, right?
So crops basically are the easiest way and most non-destructive way of...
Right. Perhaps the aliens are perplexed as to why we fail to understand. So maybe they're ever evolving as they try to find new and simpler ways to talk to us. Mm-hmm. Ways in which they're not vulnerable to our wrath. And there would be wrath if aliens came down here. I mean, would you trust them? Yeah. You're an open-minded, forgiving man. Would you trust the aliens if they were here, or would you suspect... I know your opinions on aliens. You would reach for the nearest sword and charge towards their ship.
And that's probably the wrong way to approach it. You could tell what a person is up to by their actions. If they come here and land and say hello, you be wary, but watch what they do. If they come here, firing off guns and engaging in all sort of, manipulations and stuff like that, then they're probably going to be our enemy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's. I don't know what to think about them. I don't know what to think of them. I don't know what they're trying to tell us, and I don't know what their plan is for us if they have a plan. So I don't know.
I doubt if they're hostile. If they're openly hostile, we'd be dead already. Yeah. I mean, some scientists have talked about the level of technological development needed to travel from one star to another. And assuming that anyone could ever develop faster than light travel, which still scientists believe is impossible, even if you could somehow break that barrier with more advanced science, and I don't doubt that it would be possible. I mean, scientists have always believed limits before that have been broken. So someday we may, this most holy of limits, the speed of light, could be broken. Mm-hmm. And the amount of energy necessary to power a ship with an engine like that, or the logistics to not slam into a star as you travel ridiculous. To have that level of technological refinement to travel quickly between the stars means that their other areas of technology must be quite advanced: weaponry, medicine, biology. So if they wanted to kill us, they could just abduct a few of us, take genetic samples, create a virus, and wipe us out without ever letting us know that they were there. So that hasn't happened. I mean, sure, there are all these new strains of viruses, but some chicken flu that kills 2 old ladies in Peru is not an alien attempt to kill humanity. So yeah, I don't think that they're trying to wipe us out. But
now this,
I don't know.
a lot of people. You mentioned something interesting about if they have faster than light travel, that's a huge leap in technology that would help them overcome the cultural challenges that we face, towards acquiring the same technology. But that makes it one assumption that they're traveling faster than light. Who says they're not actually from within our own system? We see pictures of planets in magazines or in an encyclopedia or in a documentary, and we assume that we have 100% vision of our solar system. We can't see any of it, right? We see tiny. It's like we send little rovers, satellites here and there. So how do we know they're not coming from somewhere within Sol itself? And that's always intrigued me, that thought. Like we don't.
Yeah.
I know it's hard. It's hard to probably not, because we've sent satellites past these planets and stuff like that. But these satellites see so little. Our rovers see so little, and we're assuming that what we're going to see are artifacts from what we have from our civilization, like radio signals and stuff like that. They may not even use radio signals. They may not have illuminated cities at nighttime. So
right. Well, I mean, scientists try to predict the presence of bodies by studying the orbit of planets, and I think they're able to be pretty decent at that. But, I mean, do we have the whole picture? I don't know. There's that theory of the counter-Earth. I think you're familiar with that, right?
Yeah,
the counter-Earth theory. I mean, I think that's been pretty thoroughly debunked, but, I mean, there's still a possibility that there could be something on the opposite side. For those who don't know, the counter-Earth theory suggests that there's a habitable Earth-like world and the exact opposite side of the sun from us that we never see. I mean, the theory is one that's full of holes, but it does still have some interesting things to consider. But I think they've been thinking about that for thousands of years. I mean, a man named according to Wikipedia, a man named Pomponius Mela, a Latin cosmographer, developed an updated version of an updated version. So I guess it was even before that. Somebody, Greeks. And these Greeks, 2,500 years ago, sitting around coming up with these ideas. It's just a shame that society degraded so far after their empires faded. But
you know what?
Yeah.
This is so interesting that I think our next episode should be on the counter-Earth theory and talking about it and and stuff like that. We have a couple more minutes, so let's just talk a little bit more about crop circles.
Yes.
You never seen one yourself, right? Like, I have never seen one.
In person, no.
People walk into them, and that's strange too, because we've been in some pretty agricultural places, and you'd think that we would have run across a formation. Oh well. But anyway, people have been inside them, and they feel that their life energy changes and their diseases cure, stuff like that. What do you feel about that? Do you think they're being silly? Do you think that there could be any truth behind that?
There could always be truth behind anything. I think. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, interestingly enough, the same documentary with the 3 MIT students who replicated the crop circle, as they were flying their helicopter over the crop formation to film what they had created, and they used a microwave that they made themselves to help along, the helicopter failed, and it almost crashed into the ground. And I found that very interesting, because there are lots of reports of people's cameras failing, of electrical equipment failing, of people feeling nauseous when they enter into it. Is it because it's radioactive? I don't think so, because I don't think they measure a lot of radioactivity. But I don't know. Are there some electromagnetic energies inside that could actually benefit us? Should we start shipping in people from hospitals to lie in the middle of it? That'd be pretty interesting test. But we can't really discuss that further, unfortunately, because we have to go.
Because of YouTube?
Because of YouTube. But
stay tuned. We'll go into it in more detail.
For sure. We'll be right back.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Internet Paladins radio show, recorded in beautiful Granada in southern Spain. I am your host, Jamal.
Hello.
Hello. Who's this?
This is The Spaniard.
Oh, hello. As always, ridiculous. All right. I believe today we had originally planned to follow our usual routine of rolling a die, but we're going to continue our discussion about crop circles, counter-Earths, and any other conspiracies that people dismiss that we think of. So, do you want to continue what you were interrupted by?
YouTube basically cut us off because we can only record 15 minutes at a time so far, but I was talking about the medicinal properties of crop circles and how they apparently heal people. And I just thought it might be neat to actually, have some sick people on the ready for when a crop circle appears, wheel them out, let them, sit in the middle of the crop circle and basically see if it heals them or not. Because if it could, that'd be pretty awesome. Because it's like free medicine from wherever the crop circles are.
Somebody would monetize that.
Oh yeah.
So quickly. Like, you would drive there, get out of your car, and like in the time it takes you to like lie down on the ground, someone would already have set up a booth, and you'd be arrested. So yeah, I don't know. And then people would make fake crop circles and then trick people into, I don't know, because people suck. But yeah, the healing properties would be quite incredible. Yeah,
that's true. Actually,
I would take advantage of them for my many ailments. So
yeah, you were talking about the counter Earth and how it had holes in the theory and stuff like that. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Those holes, right? Well, the number one hole is something to do with gravitational influence. It's a phenomenon called perturbation, which means nothing to people who aren't scientists like me. So it means gravitational influence. Actually, just a quick aside, there's this movement, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a movement to remove Latin, French, and other languages from English and use English words to describe everything.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It kind of sounds a bit like cavemen talking, but it's interesting. Anyway, back to that. The gravitational influence of upon other planets would be detectable, and we've never detected any influence. And we've sent probes to Venus and Mars and stuff, and we did not account for a counter-Earth in our navigational calculations. And if one existed, we wouldn't have been able to fly there successfully because we would have had to calculate for that. Furthermore, the gravity of other planets would make the counter-Earth unstable in its orbit, because Venus is almost as big as Earth and it has a big gravity pull, and it would come within 0.3 AUs, or astronomical units, of the location of the counter-Earth every 20 months. So almost like brushing up against it, and the gravitational pull over the years would move its orbit into sight of Earth. So if the counter-Earth was tiny, its location would mean the combined gravitational pull of the Earth and the Sun would make a centripetal force. So it would be perfect, but the small planet would be more influenced and more unstable. So also some space probes like the stereo coronagraph from NASA has gone in such a place that the counter-Earth would be visible to it, and it hasn't detected anything. So now, I mean, these could easily have missed something. Space is vast, but it seems also the last hole is that planets have an electromagnetic energy signature, and if it was an Earth-like planet, it might have one similar to Earth, and it would have been detected well beyond the surface of that planet. But we wouldn't see that, so it'd be interesting.
Well, if they had a satellite on the other side of the sun, I don't think you would miss a whole planet being there. I think that'd be kind of difficult.
Plus one more thing. It says here, for a counter-Earth orbiting the same path as Earth to always stay 180 degrees from Earth, the two planets would need circular orbits, but Earth's orbit is elliptical. So, yeah, I don't know if a counter-Earth would be possible. It's still a fascinating science fiction topic, though. I mean, There's like Spider-Man comics, I think, where villains come from counter-Earths and stuff. But I think, unfortunately, it's been debunked. But that doesn't mean there aren't other worlds in our solar system we haven't found, as you said.
Yeah, that's true. I just wondered if there was a counter-Earth, would it be like in Star Trek, the reverse? Oh, the mirror universe or whatever, and everyone had a goatee and was evil.
Wait, I have a goatee and I'm evil, so there would be a good Jamal living on counter-Earth?
Interesting.
If so, I'd probably be dead because everyone else would be. Well, wait, no, this is the evil Earth because come on, everyone's evil here.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
That would maybe that counter-Earth would actually be the good Earth. I don't know.
I wonder if perhaps the other moons or planets could be occupied.
Could be,
and we just don't know it.
There's also other possibilities for where these aliens could be. It might not be that they evolved on one of the worlds here. Or actually, you know what? Here's a theory. Maybe they evolved on Mars, right? There's so much evidence that Mars once might have supported life. Maybe long ago, Mars became uninhabitable, and the inhabitants, or those who could, fled and moved to some kind of colonies they built somewhere else, in Titan or underground, and just kind of bided their time. And I don't know, maybe they've been observing us, hoping we don't make another Mars, but those crop circles could be ways to communicate with us so we don't. But but I don't know.
That's really interesting. I just can't see how they travel across the galaxy or the universe to come here. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't.
We're not so exciting, I think, that they would travel so far just to see us. Right?
Yeah, I think if they exist, they're coming from our own solar system. I just don't know where. I can't figure out where.
But then again, there could be other phenomenon out there. I mean, of course, we're both big fans of Star Trek, and there could be a wormhole somewhere that we don't know about, and perhaps that's how they travel here, right? I don't know if anyone's ever proposed that theory. There could be. I don't know if wormholes have even been proven to be real or not, but there could be some kind of spatial tear or wormhole or a worm anus or a space rectum or something out there that these aliens are using to go from their home to.
Or
it could be an artificial one that they've made. I don't know. Or
there may not be any aliens at all.
There may not be any aliens at all, which I am sure some of our listeners are screaming at their monitors right now.
Which asks the question, where are the crop formations coming from then? Which makes it even more mysterious.
Could be a message from God. I don't know.
It could be, but why would it be astronaut? Well, maybe because
that's part of the test. I don't know. He's already sent a pretty clear message to us, but he doesn't say anywhere that he can't send further clues or messages to us, right? Which I think isn't that why a lot of Christians deny the Qu'ran, because they don't accept that God could revise His word? Yeah, that's precisely what the Qu'ran is. So it's ridiculous. How can anyone say that God doesn't have the ability? Anyway, I don't know.
That's a mystery. It really is.
Yeah.
How about we roll the dice and we keep thinking about this in the future?
Yeah, let's find out. What's next? All right. Well, I just rolled a 6, and we can't do another conspiracy corner, so let me roll again. And I've been rolling heavy on the 4, 5, and 6s tonight. Let's see what we get. Roll the 6 again. I guess we really like conspiracies here.
Technology roll.
And that one fell off my table. Let me try it again. Roll the 4. So, Inquisition.
Oh, yeah. All right.
All right. I believe that you inquisited me about the serial killer other self.
Yep.
And what I would do. And I think the answer was...
be a jerk.
Jerk. So... All right. I like time travel questions, and you guys are going to hear me ask these a lot. And I asked you before if you could pick any time to go back to, which one, and you picked the future, and you would travel to
the day of Judgment Day,
which I had not expected, but was an interesting answer. But here we go. This time, you must travel to the past. There is no future. Okay. You must travel to the past. If You are okay. A man from the future appears in your room with a time machine. He is a time policeman, and he says, "We have chosen you to be the representative of this time to go back and fix one great inequity in man's history." What would you go back and fix with your knowledge that if something that you know that if you were there, you could have prevented or you could have
Oh,
changed or
that's interesting.
what you can only do one thing. What do you think is the most influential mistake that you would correct? And yes, this would create a temporal paradox but we're not going to go into that. So, what would you fix? Because we assume that the new world would be better. Yeah. So, who cares about the temporal paradox?
Well, that eradicates what I was going to answer because it had to be something that I knew I had the ability to change. So,
I know what you're gonna go back and prevent my birth, weren't you, jerk?
Well, I could actually prevent that. No, my answer was something different, but it was something I probably would not have the power to change, though.
It's your knowledge and your resources. You have the ability to change history. What would you change? One thing that you perceive as wrong.
Oh, this is a terrible question because there's so much to consider.
The clock is ticking.
Well, there have been a lot of injustices in the world. Well, I couldn't convince the Romans to not nail Jesus to a cross. I couldn't convince Pharaoh to listen to Moses. I couldn't... What could I do? What would I have the power to possibly do? You know what? I would have a conversation with Hitler. With Hitler. And I would tell him about what happens as a result of his war and how he dies in shame with possibly a bullet in his head or living in disgrace in Argentina, or whatever happened. And that is going to be on a conspiracy corner one day. I guarantee it.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell him, and I would tell him before he became like politician Hitler, because by then it was too late. You couldn't really do anything. I would tell him maybe when he was down and out that it's not, everything isn't the fault of the Jews. There are some bad Jews, yes, that is true, but collectively you can't just blame them all. And instead of focusing your anger on a group of people based on, perceived race or religion or whatever like that, I would tell him to instead go the cooperative route and replace competition with cooperation and to join the Soviet Union.
But he hated communists as much as he hated the Jews.
That is not true. That is actually a myth. If you look at his initial election posters, he was advertised as the German Lenin.
Interesting.
And that is why it's actually called the National Socialist Workers' Party.
That doesn't make sense. So who created the idea that I guess probably the Russians created the idea that he hated them so that they would motivate.
He did eventually. But
okay. At first he didn't.
Yeah, at first he didn't. He was.
Well, because he would have believed, Marxism, but the Soviets were certainly not Marxists. They were corrupt communists, right? It was like they still are today.
Yeah, well, Stalin
and fake Russia, which is still USSR.
Russia. So I'd try to convince him to go the Soviet route, because if he went the Soviet route, maybe communism would have succeeded and we wouldn't be enjoying the ravages of capitalism today. But then again, maybe communism would have gone the wrong way. We would have had a 1984 nightmarish world. So I don't know.
The combined resources of Germany and the USSR, nobody would stop them. So yeah, if they wanted to be bad.
Yeah. But see, I don't know for sure if I could change anything. But, maybe shuffling things up would make it interesting, I guess.
Well, they would have had allies. I mean, Italy would have been on board. I think our beloved Spain would probably have seen the light and joined them. They could have created some kind of super communist state in Europe.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so you would try to convince Hitler to join the Soviet Union. That is not what I expected you to say. Very interesting.
Well, that wraps up this segment. I hope everyone will join us for our next installment of the Internet Paladins radio show. We enjoy that you're all here, and
Thank you.
We look forward to our next discussion. So we'll see you then.
See you later.